Welcome learners and students to the third lecture of Faraizi movement. I am Dr. Imtiazul Huda, Assistant Professor in the Department of Islamic Studies, Aligarh Muslim University. The third lecture is about the achievements of Haji Shariatullah. Haji Shariatullah, as he laid foundation to the Faraizi movement. So, on the basis of his views, thought, practices, and as well as the addresses he had made, the call he has given to his fellow Bengali Muslim of the eastern part, that his achievement lies in his efforts to address the socio economic and religious challenges faced by the Muslim community. During his time, as I have mentioned, Haji Shariatullah lived from 1781 to 1840 AD. Roughly, he lived for over 60 years. And as he founded the Faraizi movement with the aim to restore the pride and the dignity of the Muslim community, that he believed that the Muslim community who has deviated from the track of Islam, and just because of that, they are living undignified life. Hence, he was talking about the restoration of the pride and the dignity by being pious, God-fearing, and as well as a devout Muslim, then he can regain his pride and dignity. So he, through his movement, had infused the ideas, and it was his efforts that many Muslims of the East Bengal region flocked toward the Faraizi movement. They accepted the thought of Haji Shariatullah, and they started considering that he is a real thinker of his age who is thinking about the welfare of his people. Further, Haji Shariatullah recognized that the oppression that are being faced by the Muslims of the East Bengal region, either by the Hindu landlords or by the Britishers who had established their colonial rule. This has to be addressed, and he started thinking over and infusing the spirit how to work against such sort of oppression. Further, what we find that the Britishers and the Zamindar, the landlords, had made an alliance, a collaboration, because this particular land, as I have discussed in my first lecture, was very fertile land, and the Britishers had started planting indigos, and the landlord, the zamindars, was supporting the Britishers because they were getting the maximum benefit from the indigo plantation because indigo was high in demand in the westward. It was used as a dyeing agent. So for the indigo plantation, the Britishers, along with the zamindars, started suppressing the people of the region. Majority of them were the Muslim. They were captured. They were made bonded laborers. And as well as they were mistreated by the indigo planters, the Britishers and the zamindars. The zamindars' men often brutally attacked the workers of the field if somehow any of the person, the labor, couldn't perform just because of his ailments and inability, they used to punish them. And they used to beat them up to that extent, many of them had died just because of such brutalities. So, Haji Sharifullah created an environment that diffused in the peasantry class among the bonded laborers that no more they should suffer a lot. Further, this particular movement, as I have said, diffused the idea. And just because of the diffusion of this idea, the bonded laborers, the peasants, the peasantry class got united. And as they got united, they started talking about, discussing about the well-being, about their welfare. And they started thinking how to improve their living conditions. Furthermore, we can say that through this particular movement, Haji Shariatullah had advocated for the empowerment of the Muslim. And he has also found out the way out. The first thing that he has discussed, education. And the employment opportunities also. He stressed upon the education. By that time, in the peasantry class, majority of the Muslims were illiterate. What they had listened from their forefather, they were practicing as it is. Majority of them doesn't know even to read and write. They can't even read the Quran. So Haji Shariatullah infused the spirit of education in the community. Here I may say that when a Muslim, a devout Muslim, read the Holy Quran, he find out that the very first chapter that was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was about an emphasis on gaining knowledge through education. So this idea of infusing education, promoting education in the peasantry Muslim society of the East Bengal was drawn from that particular notion. Furthermore, as I have said, he has addressed the employment opportunity. Many people were not capable of working in the field, indigo plantation. So they might get some employment opportunity in different field. If they are artisans, they can work, they can excel. So he talk about such sort of field. And along with many other opportunities also, I have cited a very simple example of the artisans, whether they can make a pottery, whether they can make a utensil, whether they can construct the houses, whether they can make some things of utilities. These were the employment opportunities he addressed that can be adopted by the Muslims of the East Bengal. Furthermore, we can say that his message of the religious purification and social upliftment resonated with the Muslims in the region, because the Muslims of the region understood what the message Haji Shatullah want to give to them and what is the demand of the time, that they should act as per the demand, as per the need of the time. Furthermore, we can say that regarding the achievements, that his movement posed a challenge to the Hindu zamindars and the Britishers, who had somehow dominated the socio-economic landscape. Because when he started talking about the employment opportunities, it means he was talking about the self-reliance, generating their own means, and as well as stabilizing themselves economically. Further, the rising unity and aspiration of the Muslim cultivators, the peasants, threatened the existing British monarch, the power in the East Bengal, leading to concern of opposition from the landowners class, because they started considering that this peasantry class had got awakened. Now they had started demanding for their rights. They are talking about their welfare, their well-being. So this was posed as a threat to them. So just because of that one, they increased the intensities of the atrocities on the peasant class. After the demise, as I have told earlier, of Haji Shariatullah, the movement was taken by his son, Mohsinuddin Ahmad, as I told, generally referred as Zuzumia. Haji Shariatullah died in 1840 AD. Now he means Mohsinuddin Ahmad, the son of Haji Shariatullah, became the spiritual, religious, and political leader of the Faraizi movement. And it was Zuzumia Mohsinuddin Ahmad who started continue to improve the position of the Muslims in East Bengal, and as well as, like his father, he introduced many important economic measures. And for this one, he had done a remarkable thing. He had divided the East Bengal into multiple circles. As the Faraizi movement was in the full swing, many followers of the movement had become the teachers in the region. They were infusing the thought of the Faraizi movement. Now, Zuzumia, as he divided the region into multiple circles, so whosoever were the followers, they became his successors. And the successors were called as the Khalifa. And such Khalifa were made in charge of the circles. And within their circles, they had to promote the teaching of the Islam. They had to promote the obligatory teaching, the obligatory duties, emphasis on the obligatory duty, and as well as to talk about the elevation of the community. They were basically responsible for the social and spiritual welfare of the people. Of the area, the region of the circle of which they were made a Khalifa, a spiritual head. Zuzumia had the peasant to oppose the excessive taxes that were imposed on them. Because at that time, under the British control, though some Muslims had their own land, but that were controlled by the Britishers. Those who owned the land and any sort of properties, heavy taxes were imposed on them. And they were unable to bear this extra burden of excessive taxes. So Zuzumia organized the peasantry class that they should raise voice against the excessive taxes that are being imposed on them. Further, the sort of reforms that Zuzumia has started in the region was that he, first of all, he had mobilized the movement, advocating for the direct action against the landlords. It means it was the armed action against the landlords and the British administration, which means that he has mobilized the peasantry class to resist the oppressive taxes, the excessive taxes, the unjust land practices, and as well as the forced labor they were facing. Because they were forcibly made a laborer. Unwillingly, they had to work in the fields. Regarding some other reforms that were introduced by Zuzumia was the socio-economic upliftment. Zuzumia had focused on the particular socio-economic upliftment. He established the welfare programs. He started settling the dispute within the Muslim community. And he started promoting, like his father, the education among the Muslims, especially the religious. That means that religious education is necessary for every Muslim. As well as we can say that his effort earned a widespread support and loyalty from the peasantry class because they considered that this man, like his father, is addressing their demands, are addressing their problems, whatsoever they are facing. Any form of problem he is addressing. Further, if we look into the impact of this particular movement, the Faraizi movement, what we found that regarding the socio-religious impact, it has two important aspects. He talked about the revivalism of the Islamic practices, and he talked about strengthening the Muslim identity. This particular Faraizi movement played a significant role in reviving Islamic practices, as I have said, about the obligatory duties. It called the people toward the performance of the obligatory duty that they have to perform. And it has also helped them to eliminate the un-Islamic customs as well as the superstitious practices. Regarding the strengthening the Muslim identity, Zuzumia contributed to strengthen by developing the identity of solidarity and by emphasizing the religious purity and social justice. The movement empowered the Muslim community of East Bengal that had built up a sense of self-confidence in them. Another important aspect, the impact of the movement was political and economic. The first one was the agrarian resistance. The second one is anti-British sentiments. As far as the agrarian resistance is concerned, this movement fueled agrarian resistance against oppressive landlord, as I have discussed in due course of lecture, as well as against the British colonial administration. This particular movement challenged the existing power structure of its time, demanding the fair treatment and land right for the peasantry class. The anti-British sentiments, it fostered the sentiments among the Muslim population as they declared it Darul Harb, and a call for resistance contributed to the growing oppression against British rule, and that had paved way for the future political movements in Bengal. Thank you very much.